Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness. Come journey with us exploring the meaningfulness of astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. There we are. It's Mother's Day, and today is the 10th of May, and it's the moons. We're looking at the emotional construct of everything that we have, our memories, our habits, our history. We can always change our history. That's a beautiful thing about the moon. And let's find out. We're now ready. We'll just begin.
Talk Cosmos explores the journey from the dark new moon to the full moon's blossomed brilliance. In this second week of the month, we look at the moon, our emotional anchor, as this personal planet weaves the past into the present through our memories, feelings, and habits. To decode this month's lunar beats shaping our world, let's meet the astrologers who will connect the moon's emotional story to our lives here on Earth.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm Amanda Pierce. I'm a soul-centered astrologer, blending intuition into my practice. I believe the universe is always working for our highest good and seek to empower my clients in our readings. I teach a 4-week series of empowerment-based meditation classes that connect you deeper into your own intuition and innate power. I work in communications with a passion for employee experience. I also have a BA in psychology. I'm passionate about healing and enjoy helping others create new realities and shift old paradigms.
And like the Sufi poet Rumi says, you are the entire ocean in a drop.
Hello, Amanda.
Hello. Nice to be here with you, Sue.
Oh, thank you. I agree totally. And there's always so much that we say that I try to say a little bit, but I think before, but I'll say it now. These lunations, they're really asking us to take the whole part of ourselves, rejected, and be new dimensions or avenues of wisdom. And I think it seems like a tall order, but yet, I have to trust the universe that we can do this. So
Right. That the universe isn't giving us more than we can handle. Right.
That's right. That's right. So happy Mother's Day, folks. Yes, indeed. It is the 10th today. And that includes not only all the moms that so carefully throughout, that raised me, that raised you, Amanda, that raised all of us, that anybody from birth until our adult years many times, but for people too that have creative energies, creative projects or leadership in any fashion. You can, or have pets. I didn't add that. Pets too. Many mamas there.
Or plants. You can be a plant mom.
Oh, thank you. I forgot to put that in. Yes, indeed. I have an aloe vera plant. It helped me last night. Thank you.
Yeah, and lots of love to that portion of ourselves that's nurturing to ourselves and to others.
Indeed, especially when our parents go. It's so true. I find that finally I'm beginning to recognize that. I'll say it. I even found myself last night thinking, it's been some years now, like, how could she leave me when she knows I'm going to have to die and all alone? I thought, Sue, that's how it goes. You have to be a big girl now. Not that I'm dying. I'm thinking, gee, we had Attenborough. Did you happen to see that on TV? He's 100 years old. David Attenborough, who does all the wonderful things, 100 years. So they celebrated him. We're many years ahead, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Happy Mother's Day to all of ourselves. The 2 moons that we're working with for right now is one on the 16th of May at 25 degrees, 58 minutes Taurus. It's almost at 26 degrees. And then at the very end of the month, on the 31st, it'll be a Sagittarius full moon at 9 degrees, 56 minutes Sagittarius. So it again is almost at 10 degrees, but not quite. I love AI helping me with graphics, and this is the new moon. We have a stellium in both Taurus and Aries. They're clustered together. So here we have the sun and moon with Ceres right tight, all at 25 degrees Taurus. And over on the other is Mars and Chiron with Aries. And last week we did a show on Mars and Chiron because half an hour, I thought it was 5 minutes, but half an hour before this new moon, Mars and Chiron conjunct exactly at the same degree, the 4th time in their 8-year transit, because they'll be soon shifting. Chiron's going to be shifting. We do have, once again, out-of-bound planets, Venus and the moon. That means that they're outside the orbit where the sun travels, and they're listening to their own intuitive, their own nature. The moon might be more emotional. It's more sensitive. All the things that we think about the moon, more protective. Go ahead.
Well, and out of bounds, it's out of the standard structure that the planet operates in. So there's more possible when a planet is out of bounds.
More possible. Ooh, I love it. I'm going to write that down. Indeed. Pluto is retrograde, and Pluto stationed retrograde on May 6th at 5.5 degrees Aquarius, and it goes direct in October. So we'll be following that, and that'll be at 3 degrees Aquarius. A quick review on Chiron that perhaps some of you may have missed, but he is in mythology the master healer. He's a teacher, he's a wounded healer, and I call an alchemist because it's a transformative pathway. It's a bridge between our inner and outer planets, Saturn and Uranus. That's how he orbits. And he taught the gods, demigods, and heroes medicine, botany, healing, astrology, warfare, ethics, honor, wisdom. But he was fostered by the sun and moon and quite educated. There were other centaurs. He's half horse, half human. But their father's was Ixion of lawlessness, and that's a whole nother story. But therefore his mother, a nymph, and his father, Saturn just ignored him. And the nymph, she rejected him because of his appearance. So these were wounds, his first wounds. But then later his student, Hercules, who he taught warfare, because Hercules had his 12 labors. Mythology has all these interlocking stories. There was a big party to celebrate, and an arrow and Hercules tried to stop it, to control it, and an arrow hit Chiron, wounding him eternally, because that poison that Chiron had taught him was eternal, and it was deadly, and he didn't have a cure for it. He could only create it. We have to be careful of this. Death would liberate him, but he was immortal. He couldn't die. He was in agony. He did manage to exchange his life with Prometheus, who's also you can look more into this. It's a forever mythology to unravel. But the point was he was liberated through sharing his death, his giving to Prometheus, and then Zeus put him up in the sky because he was sacrificing and so noble. So, but it is where we have a wound where we need to exchange and give something up in a proverbial death, really let go of it, that fear, that something, that wound, whatever it is in us, by giving service to others. So let's look at the Sabian symbol. It rounded off to the next one. It's 26 Taurus. It's a Spaniard serenading his señorita.
So this is this is the Sabian symbol for the new moon, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and so it signifies that transforming our desire, like using honey instead of vinegar. Really focusing on what we love, and in managing with our voice. It could be song, it could be words, it could be poetry, whatever it is, but a creative expression to influence and win over with a heart-centered purpose. That's really what it's saying.
Well, in this Sabian symbol, it's very much tied into like the five senses. There's the sound, and like you can just get a feel for it. It's very romantic and musical and sensual. And that ties in so beautifully with Taurus and with this new moon and this kind of desire to really ground ourselves in the present moment. And I think that when we take a look at the chart, like that's going to be a big piece. There's an invitation for us to do that, to really ground ourselves and to root ourselves deeply into this earth structure so that we can slow down enough to like really hear what truly matters to us.
Oh, Amanda, you just put it together. Honestly, I love that. Yeah, let's look at this chart. It's 25 degrees, 58 minutes of Taurus. East Coast time would be 4:01 p.m. So Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Aries, these big conjunctions that you see here, is ruled by Mars, and they happen to be sextile. That just stood out at me at the very last minute. I went, oh my goodness, there is. And besides, as we call it, a mutual reception. That means that the signs, their natural signs exchange, and that happens to be with Venus and Gemini, with not Gemini, but with Mercury. So it's quite just a concentration. Like you say, did you want to talk more about that sun here, or should we go to the next slide and you can talk
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of Taurus energy and just reconnecting with simplicity, with pleasure, and kind of building that security from a place of inner worth, really slowing it down. And I love that you brought in Venus and Gemini as the ruler, because Gemini it's very curious. And so it's kind of guiding us to get curious about what actually grounds us. And is there something new that might be important for us to discover that's going to really help us kind of ground in? And also if this feels like, oh, I don't know that I want to go so slow, maybe be curious about what the universe wants you to discover and experience here.
Again, my heart sings, curious, because I do tend to just look at all the pebbles, the little sparkling things or whatever, however. And so it gives me purpose more to say like, okay, yes.
Yeah, and the more that we do this now at this new moon period, the smoother the full moon is going to go, because that full moon has got some big energies coming.
Potent, baby.
Yeah.
All right. There is a yod, just to begin with. That's adjustments. That's our language as a yod. It means close, anyway, it has historical things. And it's a south node. There's something that we need to release in our Virgonian sense of detail, of noticing, routine, of releasing so that we can flow. But that's more of the past. But we are really in a big adjustment period. This is part of the dynamics of change, deep transformation, because it has to do with our vision. And more than that, with Neptune, but more than vision, how we see our altar, how we see our hearth, Vesta, like what is sacred to us truly in this whole dimension. So this idea of, And I think it does root very closely now that I'm seeing with Taurus, because that is where we can, it takes time to hold on to what's sacred, to what is really pivotal to ourself and our values, of course, with Taurus. As we go into the next chart, which really is the whole chart, just to remind people, this learning triangle is pretty of great focus. And it is an actual pattern. It's where you have a trine, a square, a focal planet that connects a quincunx. A quincunx is always an adjustment. They don't match in any form of modality and other action. So, but it's learning. It's that give and take and action with flow and going back and forth. And here we are. Uranus is pivotal in quite a few patterns. It just entered Gemini, that curious energy you were talking about. And with Pluto, with Juno, that I know you want to bring attention to, that I'm eager to hear, because that's our contracts, and we're transforming them and releasing that Virgonian sense. Not all of it, of course, that's what anchors us, but yet how is it being dysfunctional? It's always with where do we need to shift over to that opposite polarity, which happens to be Piscean wholeness.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the Pluto-Juno conjunction, because that is in that quincunx to the south node. So there is some discomfort with stepping into, or I guess evolving our relationships, and with this Pluto-Juno conjunction. So this Pluto and Juno have been traveling together for quite some time, and they will continue to travel together up until about December of this year. So they were just conjunct April 19th, and let me see if I have it down. They're again conjunct in July and again in November. So this is, like, we're really looking at what needs to shift with our relationship contracts and any type of karmic bonds that we have. So Pluto, it wants to destroy any type of relationship dynamic that is not correct. And Juno really wants to have an enduring sacred bond. And in Aquarius, it's about freedom and authenticity and looking towards the future. So we're moving out of dynamics around enmeshment, codependency, these situationships in our lives, these types of relationships that are not serving us, where there may be plutonic energies like control or jealousy or possessiveness coming in. So these are up for us to purge so that we can transform our relationships into ones that have greater freedom, equality with more depth, and individuality that will strengthen the intimacy instead of threatening it.
Oh boy, yes. Intimacy, it has a great ending rather than threatens, because unless we have a trust, and Pluto many times is all about trust, betrayal and trust, power and powerlessness.
Yeah.
If what has been serving and feeding, and you're right, we rely. After a while, it's habitual. Our habits are such that it supports us. We rely on that. However, we can also be full of angst about, tied to some kind of
and fear. We can be so afraid to have something that we have die. It is because this is Pluto. It needs to go through a death so that it can be reborn as something better. And sometimes the relationship isn't going to survive, right? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't.
It's true. Or somehow it changes. I have found that with I'm very reluctant to ever give up on a close relationship. There's history there why. However, as one lives and longer, it happens. And so one needs to compost one's own meaning to how you still, because you still love that relationship in some strange way. Love doesn't just extinguish itself, but it needs to shift how I think that light is reflecting to you, something that gives you that nurturing. And here we have Ceres, it's at 25 degrees, Ceres, who's nurturing grief, that the inner dwarf planet between Mars and Jupiter in the asteroid belt, but she's actually a dwarf planet. And she hid herself for a long time trying to find her lost daughter. And then finally, when everything was resolved, she became the teacher of agriculture to sustain people, to help them through so that they could nurture themselves. So what I'm getting at is that it's grief versus nurturing. And, that's a strong element in this whole concept that you're bringing up, along with Chiron, that had to actually let a whole way of life go, who became the other, became how to serve that wound that works with other people, how we can actually manifest.
And that Mars Chiron conjunction, it's so potent here, and there's so much healing that is coming forward for us. And with this, it's an Aries, right? But it's here with this Taurus New Moon. And so they're connecting, and they're connecting in a way where it's the healing piece, the Mars and Chiron healing is around how to take action in a way that isn't pulling up survival dynamics for us. So that we can move forward. And Aries likes to move fast so that we can move in a way that isn't throwing us into survival.
Crisis, because that's another thing about Pluto, the changes, and Uranus. Here we have Uranus and Pluto together, along with Mars. We've got the whole complex.
And so that Taurus, it wants us to slow down so that we can actually see that we can move and we can take action without it having to be this hurried, rushed, hypervigilant, fight or flight energy. And the series piece as well. Sometimes you have to slow down in order to feel the grief.
And you do. You need to.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. Yes, indeed. Because after a while, these relationships that you let go of, you begin to really love them for what they served you, and to trust that each path is really living the path that they are intended to live. And parting is part of life. The day goes to the night, and the night goes to the day. The seasons move from one to the other. There is a rhythm.
Yeah.
Well, we will return, folks. We have Amanda Pierce, and this is the Taurus New Moon. We'll move into this Sagittarius Full Moon that adds a belief structure, because the moon always allows us a new set of series of events and experiences to reframe our story so that we can plow on. Okay. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Thanks.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We're currently in the period of Taurus. By leaving a cycle based upon initiation, the energy of Taurus integrates spirit into a solid form of matter that is tangible and physical. It's an earth sign, concerned with self-sufficiency and the values to maintain the strength of a life form throughout its survival.
Talk Cosmos ignites insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness with hour-long programs every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific on KKNW. Also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click their like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. You can listen to earlier podcasts since 2018, either on most podcast carriers or under the video tab on Talk Cosmos YouTube. To join our expedition and find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com and launch your week into the cosmic wonder.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, May 17th, it's Behavior Training and Healing Sunday with me, and talk with your human or animal loved ones on this side or the other, and personal readings with Natasha Venter. Hope you can join us and plan to call in with questions for either one of us or a personal reading with Natasha Venter. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Want to hear something different from talk radio? Keep your dial on Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi again, Amanda. Amanda Pierce can be contacted at amandamoonastrology@gmail.com. Info at Talk Cosmos. And on our program, here's a quick review of the programs this month. Next week, I'll actually be solo. I'm going to be talking about time cycles or time travel and how that relates to identity consciousness. Very much akin to some of these cycles that we've been talking about. And then we have more about Uranus. It's such a heavy hitter this right now, 7 years, along with all the other, because patterns going on. And here's another review of that. And Laura, Dr. Tad, has her moon journal, especially for moon people here. It's quite, you can find out about that and ask her more about it at mythicsky.com. Well, I looked at my notes. There's so many things that seem to be so well expressed on the written page, more than my head here. But this, as we'd mentioned, with that new moon, I was thinking it's what Chiron's asking, and the new moon is to put in, with that Chiron, to put an end to old scripts that we thought that we were or not. And it's in making, I was thinking about the slowness with the Taurus that you had brought up. It's making daily adjustments, incremental little ones, to activate our thinking so that we can begin to include all of ourselves. Because we all have parts that we have excluded, thinking they're not functioning, but that's not true. Regardless, they're part of us, whether we piggyback them or do something, cradle them, love them, hug them. I think that's a lot of it. Mothering ourselves, as you'd brought up with the series. So as we move into this full moon, some of those dynamics are there, but there is a new attitude. First of all, the moon is in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, and it wants us to reframe a new perspective, our beliefs, to reclaim that part, that whole independent diversity. Yeah. All right. I will move to the next slide. But it is kind of fun here, isn't it? The way AI does help us out. Goodness. Shows
Yeah. The graphics are great. It does a great job of creating, personifying the planets and the energies.
I throw in all this information and I think, okay, now wait and see. And sometimes it takes a while. I'm going, did I break it? No, it comes up with something. On this one, I had to move it around. It was a little hard to explain at first because in the moon is actually between the nodes. And
as is the sun.
Well, the sun is
on the opposite side.
Opposite side, and that wasn't evident, but it's yes.
Oh.
And here we have Ceres and Uranus right next to each other, and the sun's a little bit behind it actually. But so same out of bound planets. However, Mars has joined to being, which means our actions are going to be, this is at the end of the month. Today is the 10th. So the 16th will be next Saturday, where the new moon, we're still at the very, we haven't quite started this pattern, but all of May will be embraced. And at the very end of the month, right around Memorial, yes, it is Memorial Day weekend, Venus, Moon, and Mars will be out of bounds. So that means in some ways when Mars and Venus, from a vibrational astrology, we need to get something hands-on, visceral. People might garden, they might knit, they might write, they might do pottery, something. They need to put form to what they think is beautiful and wonderful. But Moon and Mars seems to me to be often when Mars says, we're cutting this emotional tie. We're starting a new emotional journey, and that breaks you away. It separates you from what you had. It's quite I don't know. We'll have to find out. Let's find out.
We'll find out.
Okay. The Sabian is 10 degrees, and it's a golden-haired goddess of opportunity. And looking at this, some people that have really studied Sabians, you'll have your own interpretations more so. But what I gather from this, it's pivotal, and it's your true path that always, magnetizes what we're interested in receiving. But it's really found on your own terms. It's not society's, it's not external. It's really forging that adventurous self to be brave, to look at the opportunity.
Well, yeah. And like you were mentioning, this is a Sagittarius moon. So we really want to be aligning with our truth. And what strikes me most about this Sabian symbol is the first part of it. It's a theatrical representation of a golden-haired goddess of opportunity. And that theatrical representation, it can be like putting on a show. So do you have any beliefs or anything that you're aligning with that's just for show right now? Or is everything aligned with your soul? What's out of alignment? So I think that's coming forward, especially when we take a look at this chart and the moon, sun square the nodes. So that's going to be up for us.
Indeed. I like this so much. And it is really because, we can put too much ego into something if we're scared or fearful. And then that's this river shadow.
And just the way that we're conditioned within society, sometimes we're just going off of what's an inherited belief. It's not even really ours, and we haven't really quite questioned that yet. And that questioning is going to come forward too with Uranus in the mix.
Yeah, we have dreams also. So many dreams. I'm thinking, when one is Sagittarius and adventurous, it's because it's connected almost that dream. What's beyond? What am I going to see? Like any path, even though you might be hiking up a trail, it's like they tell you about a vista, but what does that vista really look like? What else might it inspire? So there's this sense of discovery that is part of the whole process, makes it opportunity. So keeping that in mind. Well, there are many conjunctions, yet I see that they're separating. Juno it will be conjunct, as you mentioned, which I'm really glad to recognize throughout practically the rest of this year. However, they're widening. I could put it that way. They're maybe contexting other things. And also Saturn and Neptune that were tight on the 20th of February, which is actually going to be part of my talk, the basis of my talk next week. And I took that opportunity because the person I had bailed out, and I didn't have any aspects particularly that week. And I had a talk that I've been doing with Kepler Astrology Toastmasters in a contest form that didn't quite make it. And I thought, I'm just going to do my own, right? Like just lead forward, be brave, because I have a lot I've researched and found. So it'll be interesting. So it's seeing how this is working before the actual, and I think that's how life is. We often pick up on these vibrational energies before it actually conjuncts. It's like getting ready. You see the sun rise. And
our psyche knows what's coming.
Yeah. So here, Mars and Chiron have actually separated it just enough so that now Chiron is with Aries once again. Aries, it says all or nothing, baby. I mean, you've got to include all of yourself. Forget those rejected parts. Yeah, they are there, but you can do something with them. So just don't trample them. Okay. Oh, and then Venus and Hygeia of toxicity, like looking at our values. How can we get to the purest form of what's, like you said, deep? And it is in all those. I love that. Taking the time to realize our senses, to hear and listen to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the moon is so aspected. I was just most amazed. Not all moons have such a lot to say, but then the moon in Sagittarius wants to talk to begin with. It has an opinion.
It does. It has big opinions. And I mean, honestly, the biggest piece I think here is that it's square the nodes. So the moon and the sun are both square the nodes. And then everything else is like revolving around that. But the square to the nodes is really about, I think what it's saying is that this is a full moon that's going to expose some things about ourselves, about where our beliefs lie, and what do we need to break free from, where maybe we've been really entrenched in some type of dogma, or where our truth has become like an armor for ourselves.
Yep.
Like it's just a protection. It's not even really what we believe. So these are pieces that may come up because Sagittarius likes to take a stand. It likes to say, this is what I believe, and go all in on it. And so anywhere where we do that with ourselves, because we all have Sagittarius within us, anywhere where we do that, this square to the nodes, it's saying what needs to be let go so that we can keep moving on our evolutionary path. And this moon specifically, like the resolving node, the node that we would look to kind of help guide us out of this stuckness, this Sagittarius stuckness for ourselves, would be the South Node. And this is a point of release for ourselves. But so typically, we're moving away from the South Node. But when we have a square to the nodes, and the South Node is the resolving nodes, we've got to like do it and maybe let go a little bit more here. But Virgo is all about sorting through things, refining things, and discriminating. So discriminating what our beliefs are and really like taking a look at them and saying like, okay, is this really true for me still?
I absolutely agree, because that Uranus is like a tug of war. It wants to liberate us. Where did I put that down? So that we can flow instinctively and use the mystical, I hate to put those words on it, but it is true. I really feel there is a source. There is a life sense, whatever you want to call it. And it isn't just our construct, but it is looking at the flowers that open up and seeing the timing, somehow to realize that we have a timing and to connect with that. And so it is really liberating. And it's all between, and they are about to change. They're going to be going into a new set later this summer. So we're at the early stages. They go in reverse. So Uranus right now with Ceres is really working hard to work on being inclusive. They're working synergetically. It's on many angles.
So the moon is square the nodes, but then also Uranus is square the nodes and the sun is square the nodes. So
well, it is. This is the closer one, because if we go back to the earlier slide, in a sense, the sun and moon opposition is really working in tandem with that you're mentioning with Pluto and Juno to reconstruct to purge. So we're having all these dynamics.
Yeah,
the moon is emotionally letting go.
Yeah, our relationships are getting pulled into this, into what are
mental.
Beliefs and whatever, and the transformations that are happening within our relationships are supporting us, supporting this emotional journey that we're on, and supporting the shifts that are happening to our identity.
Yes, it's all about identity.
Yeah.
And that's really my focus for next week too, because our consciousness is very much akin to what you're saying, to decondition ourselves so that we can hear ourselves. Each of these are incremental steps along the way. If we can just trust the moment with the moon to begin with here, I find this so valuable, because it's not just one simple, it's like in any food preparation, you have many spices.
Yeah.
I remember we're learning that to make, I was told when we lived in Mexico that cilantro was very important if you wanted food to really taste, Mexican, which I need to ask other people about. But anyway, you can't find very good cilantro here in Hawaii. They have some. So again, we have, look at this here. The Uranus, just the ones we were speaking of, are Pluto is in a strong square with Mars. Actually, Mars is between Pluto and Juno, meaning action steps. We're really finding action steps. This isn't all in our head. We're making choices. We're moving in this, we're adjusting that. Something, or other people are making changes, and that affects, how we need to operate. And also it's flowing with the curious, with the sudden new innovations, with what surprises us even. There's a operation. Besides the fact that there's that connection with Saturn of putting, which is a lot of hard work. Saturn in Aries is not a simple thing. It's saying, okay, I'm going to really take steps and redefine, find out what's important.
And really become the master of myself, really. Saturn is mastery, and it takes things seriously, and it puts in the work, and it's responsible. And here it's in that trine to the moon as well. So it's like all this work we're doing on ourselves, be like, okay, who am I? Is really, it's supporting this moon so that we can say, okay, I'm shifting who I am, and I'm taking myself seriously in a way that I haven't before. Does this belief system still serve me?
Exactly. And sometimes it's like a death. It's a little bit of a loss. And, all of these archetypes are in there together in the kettle. Yet one learns that the way forward is really the only way. Looking back is only that mirror that reflects a pattern to understand how it operated and what it served, and what parts that you can be thankful for, but no longer are really the whole enchilada.
it just always goes a lot more smoothly when you can align with what the universe is asking of you, you know? And especially with this Uranus in Gemini that's conjunct the sun and opposite the moon, you know, it's really wanting to shake things up here. And it's going to come at us in ways that we haven't thought of before, which may surprise us a little bit. And it possibly could rattle us. But the way that you resolve this tension that Uranus is bringing is to go into the flow, because it's the North Node in Pisces that is going to help resolve that. So we're working the North Node in Pisces with Uranus and the sun. We're working the South Node in Virgo with the moon. So it's very dynamic, this full moon. And this is towards the tail end of this North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo energy, where we need to surrender into the flow, and we need to be more discerning at the same time. And so this full
always
moon
use that strength, yes, of Virgo. Ultimately, the South Node's not just to correct maybe where it wasn't quite useful. That purging process of death, but remembering with Chiron, when we take that part and repurpose it into something to offer, instead of always being about oneself, whining or crying in some sense about one's lack, rather repurposing and using it to maybe offer as support for somebody else, teaching them, or just however it's used, changes that grief, from into acceptance and love, nurturing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, each of our individual suffering, which we all have, there's so much wisdom in it. We've all experienced it fully, and there's something that each one of us can teach others, even if it's not teaching as a teacher. It's just showing up in a specific way and being present.
Those little steps, they help to add new experiences, and those new experiences can spiral and connect with other parts of ourselves and other people that reverberate. It's really if one's open without resisting, which there is a point of resistance. Usually I have found, it's like everything, kind of wavers and maybe refocuses, but not to just stay there. Realize it's safe. You're okay. You can move. To redefine.
Absolutely.
Because like Wayne Dyer, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that both the Taurus New Moon, or I should say both Taurus and Sagittarius, can get stuck. They're both signs that can get stuck. We don't often think of Sagittarius that way, but it does. It will get stuck in its beliefs.
Strong opinions.
And so Uranus coming in here is helping us to really shake free from that a bit for both of us. So that new moon, really, if we can root in and ground and go slow for a bit, that is going to help us feel safe enough to really allow a new truth for ourselves to come forward.
Yeah, embody those.
Yeah.
Yep. It is a bridge, this whole thing, this crossroads and turning points. Again and again, I'm realizing the patterns in the sky, they're like gear shifts. They're turning points that blend and move into like rivers, tributaries, and then they forge into a new river, and we're going down to the sea before the water evaporates us and goes up. We become a cloud. But it's going with the flows to some extent of this whole inner dynamic. And that, those values, Venus and being part of the whole, being part of our society. It's like, where is our neighborhood? I think that's part of Uranus in Gemini. It's like, who belongs in our neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
We have Jupiter right now in Cancer, and Cancer is very much saying our roots, our foundation, maybe our family that we came from. It is Mother's Day, remembering that, but our one is a mother,
Yeah.
and so but looking at our neighbors and our context of our nations, the whole world is beginning to shift about how we connect, how we consider to be part of our group. They're not people that we met down at the coffee club. Like here we are Zooming, and between time and space.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is going to become the new norm for a lot of people. This is how you connect. You connect through technology. If for those that aren't there yet, a lot of us are. This is one of the main platforms for connecting.
It is true. And then you think of the changes, with all with Taurus, it is about survival. That's what you brought that up. And Sagittarius can be very much about a law, for instance. There's many things about the belief structure and Sagittarius. But when it comes to our survival, it is a matter of interconnecting. I think that's where Pluto in Aquarius helps a great deal, because it isn't just our little cell group. It's that relationships. And the Pluto with Juno saying, well, what's your contracts? How are you basing this? Are you being inclusive? And letting all of your own self be inclusive. It's quite a
and with the world changing to being so much more technology dominant, this is part of all of that air and fire that we're seeing in the sky right now. The Pluto in Aquarius, the Uranus in Gemini, and Uranus, it can be really ungrounding for us. And so the Uranus in Gemini, it's going to shake us up mentally, because Gemini is a very mental, thought-based energy. And for those that are kind of tend to go towards that, like I have a lot of air in my chart, so I tend to be, I'm quite mental. It's going to shake that up quite a bit. And so what I have found that's been really helpful for myself, and I'm going to continue doing it as Uranus is in Gemini, is really allowing that mental part of me to fall back, so that I'm not in a thinking place all the time, so that the shifts and the lightning changes that are going to happen, I'm the lightning rod now, because I'm allowing that to happen, instead of going in the old way that I've always done things and having the lightning come at me. I think that was a Rick Levine phrase, like, be the lightning rod, don't be hit by
it's good. That is good. And this serenading, I'm thinking that too, in a sense, it's serenading to our own. I'm realizing I'm so eager to get back to music. Astrology I seem to be compulsive. I do one thing a lot, and astrology, but I did that with music for years, and then dabbled with paint. But those things are cathartic. They allow you to meditate, as you creating, you're in another space. So that kind of reveals to me why I have this ambition.
Well, and it takes you out of your left brain to be in music. It helps you operate from a fully other side of your brain, which really helps synthesize information, which is great for this upcoming Sag moon, full moon.
Yes. Well, folks, thank you so much for sharing any time that you had on Mother's Day. And just realize we're nurturing ourselves through all of this and supporting linked hands, together across the way into the world. Yeah, it's just such a pleasure, Amanda. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be with everybody. Happy Mother's Day.
So enjoy your spring, folks, and autumn down below the horizon. But may your adventure transforming and reforming and claiming and experiencing and just be one with joy inside.
Thank you for joining this vibrant and insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests awaken consciousness by connecting heart and soul consciousness patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.